Hey, what's up? It's Jake. I got some production grade Terraform environments all refactored. So I moved everything from my last video into two directories. So first of all, I made a dev, a global, a prod, and a stage directory. And I started off in dev, and I have an ALB directory and an ASG rolling deploy directory. Inside my ALB directory, I've got a main file, and all it does is take the code that I needed for my ALB, configured a backend AWS S3 bucket and a DynamoDB table for my locks, and then just use the ALB module to create a load balancer with a output of target ARN and the DNS. ALB takes a while to build, so this drastically increased the time to apply my autoscaling group, which I'm using the module for. So this module has this get source, and basically all I'm doing here, which hasn't changed, is taking a web server cluster and running. Where's my main file? Let me do an update real quick here. ASG Terraform get update. Go ahead and download this newest modules. But I'm just taking all the module information from my previous deployment and setting that up. So in that module, let me see if I can find it. There's a reference in this module to a target ARN. So I went ahead and created an output here of the ARN and the DNS so that in my actual module, pull this up here, the outputs here are being output to my web server cluster module, which are also taking my main DNS file that I can use, and using all the variables and tips and tricks and things like that that we used. Essentially, I can deploy that without any issue. So let me go ahead and create a load balancer first. I've done this so many times, it should just work. I did not create a module for my ALB. Well, I did create a module for ALB, but in here, I did not create a module for my network yet. I suppose I should. I could. It's pretty big, and I don't have it in here. I didn't really want it in here right now, but it's definitely something that I should. It's in Git, but I should probably put it in my modules repo just so it's there. But yeah, so I can get this load balancer created. This takes a couple minutes, so I'm gonna pause the video and come back and we'll do auto scaling group, and then we can just test these out real quick. All right, so that's finished. So let's go ahead and take a look at. We should have a target group from our previous run, and we're good there. And I've got 2 targets registered, so that's good. That means that my auto scaling group was created correctly and then attached. So that looks good. And we can go ahead and look at our instances and check their status. It says that the instance state is running. They're still initializing, so I don't know if they're completely ready. But in my previous run, I did get the output of the DNS. So we can copy this and hit my load balancer. Yeah, and it's still going. So I'm gonna wait for these to initialize and then we'll check again. All right, so I've got one pass. The other one's still initializing, but because I have one up, I'm able to hit my load balancer and it got my hello world back. So you see, if it switches, I'm getting bad gateway and hello world on the other one. So in order to fix that, you need to make sure that, and I can add this, that you're monitoring something that in your target group is evaluating the health. So it says they're both healthy now. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, so they're both healthy now. So one of the options you have when creating these resources is to evaluate the target health. I did not set it up to evaluate target health, probably should have. So for production AWS, you'd want to do that. But in context of production grade Terraform, really the goal was to just modularize this and refactor your code into individual smaller modules, smaller chunks, easier to manage, easy to read. As you can see here, last time there was a ton of stuff to do, but like my load balancer, very short, very short. It's just a module. It's like my backend config with a region and then a module with some outputs. And same thing for the reason I created global, by the way, is I created my DynamoDB tables, and then for um, my auto scaling group, it's very similar. Let me open that back up. Like I said, it's just a provider with a module, and I don't even have my remote state set up here, so I could probably do that. So if you want to see how to do that, I'm just going to copy this. Where are you at? This backend config for S3. I'm going to go ahead and update this. This is the bucket I want. The key should be dev and then not networking. We want web ALB. And I don't have that created in my global DynamoDB table list. As you can see here, I have a dev ALB, but I don't have an ASG. So we can go ahead and create that if it doesn't already exist. Dev ASG, and then the name will be dev ASG. So this ALB is actually, I think, using my previous one that I created before. So this one with a different name, this autoscaling group, that's my DynamoDB table name, which will end up being my key for this guy. So we might need to change this from web ALB to, I don't know exactly what I built. So let's double check. I'll show you. So if you go to S3, oh wait, I already did S3. We need to go to DynamoDB, and then you're going to look at your tables. And we can see here I have all these tables. So my key is good. My ASG, we just need to change this to ASG. So, and then just to double check this path dev web ALB, since my DynamoDB tables are good, leave that open. They're already created, right? Let me double check that I'm not crazy. TF locks dev ALB, so we need a TF locks dev ASG. So we do need to create the DynamoDB table. So let's go to our global directory, DynamoDB, and then well, I already saw the main file. So that should work. So we can do a Terraform format, just to make sure my formatting is good. Let's validate my configuration. Remember, this is for the DynamoDB table. All right, and let me run a Terraform Apply. I'm skipping the plan, and I'm going to use the plan that it creates, just because this is such a small create two tables kind of thing. All right, we're going to add a table for TF locks dev ASG. And then as soon as that's done, we can go back to our main. So we don't need that anymore. I don't need ALB anymore. close out some of this Docker stuff. All right. So this is ASG. So we want to make sure this is going to the right bucket and the right directories. So let's see if we've got that path available before I try. So I redid my paths in my S3 bucket. So I go to my bucket, Terraform state. I've got a dev and a stage. I can go ahead and create a prod since I don't have one while I'm here. And then in dev, I have a networking folder, but I don't have a web, right? So I'm going to create a folder called web. And then in this folder, we want, just in case I have other web stuff, I'm going to create a folder called ASG. And then there's nothing in here. So we're going to make something in here when this goes. So this key now, this path exists. Oops. This path exists and this table exists. So we can go ahead and migrate our state. So you're going to do a Terraform init -- migrate state in the right directory. So let me get out of here and go to, where am I? Production grade Terraform, and then dev ASG. There we go. Let's go ahead and Terraform init. So even though we have resources running, I need to reinitialize my Terraform because it has to initialize the backend. It's going to say, do you want to copy existing state to a new backend? Yes. All right, so now that's been reinitialized. And if you go to our state file, you'll see there's nothing in here right now. So I'm going to do a Terraform apply. And it'll say that there's no changes to make, potentially. Yeah, see, and this is something I'll probably have to figure out. When you run apply and stuff's already running, like this auto scaling group that I have, so this already exists, right? The problem is it's going to try to change this target ARN because it is something that's dynamic, and we don't want it to do that. So in this case, I'll go ahead and do it. Well, actually, I'm not going to do it because then it's not going to attach it. And what you'll see is if you do that and you go back into EC2, the outcome is, and I do not like this, this is just a thing that it does. The end result is when you go to your target group, you won't have any targets. So you'll actually have to apply it a second time. So once it gets a new ARN, you apply it a second time and it'll be like, oh, I don't have any targets. And then it'll change that. So that's definitely something that I would change for the AWS side as well. But as far as backend configuration, that looks good. If I go to DynamoDB tables and do a refresh, you can see I've got a new table. And in here, I've got nothing right now because I don't have any locks or anything like that were created. But if I go to S3, we should see now, actually, I don't think, because I migrated it, we should have a lock file, but there's not going to be locks in DynamoDB. So Nimbus DevOps, Terraform state, dev, web, ASG, there's our new Terraform state file. So we've moved everything over, all the state has been migrated, and we're looking good. So everything as far as infrastructure has been validated and looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and destroy all this stuff and clean up. So I'm just going to run a Terraform destroy on my auto scaling group first. And then after that, I will do my load balancer. So make sure you clean up because if you don't, you could end up with a bill that you don't want. Just so you know, since I started this this massive Terraform series of videos, I have a billing alarm set at $10, and I have yet to reach that, and I don't think that I will through this entire thing. So everything we're doing is really cheap and or free. So you should be able to learn everything you need to know about Terraform and managing AWS without spending very much money. And when I say very much, I mean I'm still under 10. I haven't checked to see what it is, but um, usually I don't pay for anything. There's a couple things that I've done that might cost like a few cents. So I might get a bill this month for like $1. So anyways, yep, go ahead and finish cleaning up, and then we're going to move on to some automated tests, which should be fun. And do I have anything else to send you? Yeah, that should be it for production grade Terraform. So modularize all the things and do your best to refactor your code and test everything, test everything, test everything, and make sure that that's good to go. And don't forget you have a couple other features available to you, provisioners, external data sources. We didn't go over provisioners a lot, but essentially, um, if you want to execute scripts like on the local machine or remote machine, um, typically like config management style bootstrapping, you can do that with local exec, remote exec, all that stuff by adding a provisioner. I kind of went over that a little bit, but I'm not using it because I really don't need to. And I'd rather use configuration management for that kind of stuff to make sure everything's exactly the same. So if you don't have anything else, if you got any questions, let me know. And if not, then good luck. And I'll see you in the testing section.